We're going to be continuing on in our session. Registrar of Voters Redistricting, Mr. Fiore and Mr. Kinsler.
Hello.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Lou Fiore, Democratic Registrar of Voters.
Tom Kinsler, 359 Washington Road, Registrar of Voters for the Republicans. We are here today to just give you a quick update on the goings-on regarding redistricting. And since several of you are new and haven't gone through this before, very few people have actually gone through it. Every 10 years, we put together, by state statute, federal law, based on the census data that they provide us every 10 years, we go through and rebalance the districts. Can you hear me okay? So this year, this is the current one that's going on now. It's been here for 10 years. You'll notice on this map some jigs and jags that go around. Those are results of attempts to balance the districts. So, for instance, this year we'll have a change of some sort, which we don't really know yet because we haven't gotten all the data, but with the new Barbara Jean complex, those streets, that area, adding to the population of District 4, that will affect District 2 and balancing out some streets down there. The Lou Fiore cutout that nobody ever understood. We do, but nobody else did. May need to change from district to district. So I wanted to show that to you because that's a balancing that we're required to do every 10 years, and we have a limited amount of time to do it, and we'll be starting on that. When are we starting?
Hopefully tomorrow.
No. Friday.
So let me start. What I'm going to do I don't do this very often. Usually I'm pretty well prepared with just crib notes, but I have so much data to share with you tonight. I'm actually going to read pretty much verbatim, which I normally don't do. It's a little uncomfortable for me to do it this way, but I don't want to mislead anyone or give you incorrect data. So if I can begin, and actually I'll give a copy of this to the town clerk so she can make sure it's in your minutes. Since redistricting is making the news, we wanted to provide you with an update and an outline of the needed implementation steps. I should also mention that I have personally been involved with this task twice before, in 1982 and 2002, so I've been through this gauntlet before. Didn't think I was going to do it a third time. Every 10 years, per the U.S. Constitution, state constitution, and our town charter, the various voting districts need to be rebalanced, redistricted, per population based on the census data. As of this past fall, the State Assembly received the official census data and has completed its work on redistricting all of the State Senate and State Assembly districts. There was no change to Enfield as it pertains to the 7th senatorial. There was a minor change as it pertains to the Enfield for the 58th and 59th State Assembly districts. 5 of the 6 streets that were partially in the 59th district have now been completely moved to the 58th district. The state has provided us with those changes, and by state statute, Tom Kinsler and I in the ROV office will have to make those changes in the state voter registration system by mid-March 2022. This is so that they take effect for the upcoming party convention delegate selection process and for the upcoming elections in August and November of 2022. We got pretty lucky. There's really some just minor changes, which we can do manually.
We should also add the note that East Windsor was adjusted.
Yeah, East Windsor picked up a lot of the 59th in their Warehouse Point area. As it pertains to the 5 federal congressional districts in the state, as of tonight, various plans have been submitted to the Connecticut State Supreme Court, who have assigned a special master to recommend a redistricting plan that will then be accepted by the State Supreme Court. The final completion date for that action, I believe, is around February 18th. At that time, we will know if Enfield remains in the 2nd congressional district. If we are moved out of that district, registrar of voters will have to implement that change, and every registered voter in the town of Enfield, approximately 26,000 people, will have to be notified, usually by some type of mailing. I don't think that's going to happen, but we wanted to mention it because it is the possibility, and we won't know till February 18th. As it pertains to the town Assuming you want ROV to take the lead on this task as we have in the past, then our goal is to begin the work of creating a redistricting plan of the 4 town council districts in late January 2022 to be submitted to you by mid-May, right around the time that you're doing your budget, or clearly right after that, maybe your first meeting after you do your budget implementation. By federal statute, to the best of our ability, we need to balance out the districts by overall population, not by registered voters. This is a difficult task. I've done it twice before, as the census data is provided to us in census blocks, not by streets. And some of those blocks, as you can imagine, are split across council lines. So it's really a manual effort on Tom and ours to dissect that data and pull that out.
Give me a quick example.
Example would be if you looked at Green Manorville. That's, I think everybody knows where that is. That's one census block. That's pretty easy. We know how many people the census is going to tell us, 3,000, whatever. We don't have to touch that. We just record that. But take a look at the Mount Carmel neighborhood across the street. That's in multiple council districts, right? 2 and 4. That's one census block. So Tom and I are going to have to figure out how many houses are on a street. And then as long as we agree, we have to come up with a mathematical algorithm to add some to another census block and take some away. We're not doing another census. We have to use the census data. The town of Enfield is not doing a census in those split census blocks. So it is a manual effort. Any and all municipal redistricting changes must be approved by the town council. I believe via public hearing and a resolution. I think the town attorney could probably relate to that. In addition, during the upcoming November 2022 election, the Enfield residents must vote and hopefully approve the municipal redistricting plan as a referendum question, a requirement under our town charter. If passed, these changes will then be in effect for November 2023 municipal election and for all the future elections after that until 2033. Now the bad news.
Well, yeah.
First of all, we will need a town council member liaison assigned to us so that the council and the town manager will be kept in the loop on all the proposed changes. Thus, there's no surprises to you guys when we come in front of you with our recommendations, okay? I think it's very important, having gone through this before, that we have a town council liaison. They don't have to do a lot of the bull work with us, but it's someone that we would go to who would then report to you and just get them in the loop. Very important. Things work better that way when that occurs.
Yeah.
Second, we will need a town staff member with knowledge of loading data into the town's GIS system and for assisting us with producing all the reports and maps. We have the census data and what they call shape files that get loaded up into our town's GIS system. And again, someone in that area would be able to assist us in creating the reports and the maps that we needed to do this work. We can't do it alone. We don't have access to the GIS system for that type of work, and we don't really know how to use that. So we really would need the town manager to assign someone on staff to help work with us on that. Thirdly, we will not budget for the postage and printing of the municipal change notifications at this time in our proposed 2022-2023 budget, which we're working on, because we have no idea how many changes we're going to do. So any number I put in there might be inaccurate. It could be too low or too high.
So if we have to notify every resident as opposed to a block of residents, it makes a big difference.
It makes a big difference. So at the last minute, we should know by the time you're getting ready to do your final budget implementation in May, mid-May, we will know by then pretty much what the impact's going to be. And hopefully it's minimal, so we might not have to do anything in the budget. We might be coming to you with a quick budget adjustment in that proposed 2023 budget that you'll be working on soon. Because honestly, we just don't know what number to plug in there at this time. We haven't even started. That kind of wraps that up as far as, and if I talked too fast or have any.
One other thing. If the referendum that is by our charter that has to be done in November does not pass, it has to be redone again. And that's never happened, but, so I put a word out. If there's a way to word this particular referendum, which has to be done, in a way that makes it crystal clear that it's by state law, there's no dollars involved, something that makes it very simple for the voting public to understand by looking at it for the first time on voting day, that will not trip us up, because it has to happen, but the charter says it has to be approved in referendum. So there's a conflict there, and we don't want to have to go back to a second referendum. That's costly. And
We're one of the few towns that actually have to have the voters pass this type of administrative change by referendum question. Most towns it's done by an ordinance or by the council or the first selectman or the mayor. certainly the public hearing has to take place. A public hearing would have to take place here too. But we're one of the few towns that actually have this in our charter that requires the voters to actually vote on this by referendum. And I think personally, I think it's just a leftover piece of the compromise that was done when the original town charter was put together. The town charter we're working under now in the mid-1960s.
We changed from
Knowing all the people involved then that do that, I'm sure it was a compromise to keep everyone happy at the time. But I decided to mention it as a side, and I apologize. So we'll take any questions on the census. Is there any questions?
Mike?
Go ahead, Councilor Ludwig.
Thank you both. So 2 questions.
Yeah.
First of all, but I'm glad we're one of the few towns that you vote on redistricting by referendum. It's important. I understand it's a little backwards, but I'm sorry, it's important. Redistricting now is so political, it's unbelievable. So I'm glad it's got to be on a referendum. I understand you actually could be voting for something one year and changing your district the next.
Yeah.
Whatever. I mean, in my opinion, we should be one of the towns that never change. We actually should be a model, actually, if you ask me. It shouldn't be done by a first selectman or anything. It should be done by the people. So I agree with that wholeheartedly. But my question is, so when it comes to the budget, if you're right now, so say to your point, if as voters the entire town's in the 2nd congressional district, just say by some chance we're not, you have to now send, right, do you have to send, so any change in the local, so I'm meaning federal, state, and?
It's just, look, we have enough money to cover the federal change.
Okay, so what about state?
Yeah, we'd have enough money to cover that.
Oh, so you already have that.
The reason why we have that money in this year's budget, we would have to make that mail, if they change the side of the congressional district.
Got it.
We'd have to
Okay.
mail it now.
Perfect.
We only had one election last year. You would have to do a council transfer.
Got it.
So have it in that election worker bucket, but we do have
That
the money.
budget's really for if anyone, that 5 streets you mentioned?
Nope, the budget
all set
money,
for that.
we're all set for that too. The
Except
budget
we
mo-
have to notify the whole town. If 2 becomes
Right,
1,
exactly, I understand, yeah.
that would be the time we'd have to do it, and that's going to be a surprise.
And so can you say the 5 streets or no, not yet?
Yeah, sure. They're Avon Street Extension, Edward Street, Beverly Street,
I was gonna write those down. So Avon Street.
Avon Street Extension, Edward Street, Beverly Street, the top half of, that condominium complex.
That's Old Farm.
Old Farms, thank you.
Okay.
And the north side of Middle Road,
That'll be what now?
all in the 59th.
59th.
I'm assuming all in the 58th.
That's all
58.
moving.
Yeah,
Okay.
right now, it's cut out like this. The 59th goes across
Right.
and right over
Right,
it.
right.
It's just now going to absorb it. It's the most
So, and
logical.
so if they actually now, to just be clear in timing, delegates get set in the spring, they actually would be part of the 58th,
Yes,
right,
yes.
in the spring?
Yes.
And
yes.
so if there's a primary, they'd be voting whatever
Yes.
party? Okay,
Yes.
perfect.
Yes. The only time they would still vote in that 1-year period in the 59th would be if there was a special election only.
Got it.
So we will keep track of those people manually in case there was a special election for the 59th.
So again, not putting you on the spot.
Yeah, that's
Completely understand the fluctuation with the budget. By chance, if we stay in a 2nd district,
Yeah.
you don't need to spend any of that money. Can
That's
you
right.
use that money and use it for anything in the local?
No, because we won't know the local changes. We won't be implementing them until after the referendum passes. So that's in the 2022,
Got it. Makes
2023
sense.
budget.
Makes sense. All right, well, again, you got to make an estimate. That makes sense.
The goal is to not move, is to move as few people as possible to accomplish the balance.
Sorry, last question. JFK will be online for voting? And-
Can we hit the
Oh,
JFK
sorry. All right.
after?
Well, I thought I read your
Hold that
notes.
question.
Hold that
You gave
question.
me notes beforehand. Sorry.
Yeah,
Thank you. Sorry.
You're welcome. Councilor Mangini?
Thank you for your time and your information. At what point do you think you'll be ready to disseminate the information regarding the changes to the public, to the council, to the town?
Well, to the liaison.
Yeah, right after our goal is to be able to present our recommendation to you in that first meeting, let's say June, or maybe the last meeting in May. I'm not sure when your budget implementation meeting is going to be.
But before that, we'll have heads up with the liaison.
Liaison should be
assigned.
informing you guys
This is
of
what
what's
we
going
want to
on.
do. This looks like it's going to
Right.
happen this way. We'll
Right.
have information.
Right.
And then we'll put it
Yeah,
together.
do you want to get it out to the people ahead of time?
Yeah, you have all summer,
Okay.
just like any referendum question.
We have to have our
Yeah.
letters out 90 days in advance.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions? Councilor Hopkins?
This is a smaller question, which comes out of. I've had-
I take those.
Fair enough. Sorry, this is a smaller question which comes out of some questions and concerns people have had, trying to figure out which voting district they fall in. The map we have is great, if people can take the time to kind of sit down and compare it to Google Maps that has the actual street names. I don't know if this is more of a question for you guys or more of a question for whatever town staff member ultimately plugs that stuff into GIS and produces a map that goes on our town website. But is there a way to do that that's most accessible and has all the street names, showing the district? I think that would be great if we
Yeah,
can do that.
we'll try.
We'll try, but
Yeah.
right now, if they go online, they can plug their address in and it'll pull up their districts, not on a map, but
It's difficult on the map. I guess we can talk to the people with the GIS to see if that's doable. I don't really know, Councilman Hockman, this time whether that's doable to drill down to that street. And believe me, I've been trying to do it, getting ready all the data for here, and I'm getting eye strain already. So I know
thankfully,
understand how it's difficult.
we will be able to, instead of getting in the car, like in old days, and driving to a neighborhood and saying, okay, 1 house, 2 house, 3 house, there's 9 houses on this side, how many on that side, Lou? Okay, times our algorithm, all right, that's how many people live here. Now we can do the same thing with Google Maps. So in the office, we can really make sure we don't miss any little, the house behind the house kind of thing, and we can get it done a little bit faster than in the old days. So that'll help us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I just had one other item, Mr. Mayor,
Go
real
ahead,
quickly.
yes.
We wanted to give you an update on JFK, Councilman Ludwig. And before I do that, Councilman Mangini, it's good to see you again. You and I have done this once before. Yes, we have. Again, as you are aware, we temporarily moved the JFK polling location over to the Senior Center approximately 2 years ago because of the construction at that particular site. We have been notified by the chairman of the JFK Building Committee that we should be able to move back to JFK in August of 2022 this summer. At least that's the goal as of tonight. Thus, we are notifying you that it is our intention at this time to start investigating the actual movement back at that polling place. We will be meeting with the BOE and their staff sometime in their February meeting, and then after that, after discussing moving back to JFK, when they're going to go to the Building and Grounds to discuss the whole movement over there to make it for the August primary. I do want to tell you that if something happens and we cannot get in there for August, then we have to wait a whole year to be able to move back to JFK
Can't split the two.
by federal election. We have to vote wherever the primaries are, has to be in the same building in November.
And we're in every other week consultation with Randy about how things are going, if there's any weird things that have come up or that type of thing. Because we have a date that we have to send out our letters by, and we have to make that decision right before it. We're a go or we're a no. So if there's any changes, we'll update you. The other thing is the Pickens, our goal.
Yeah.
Our goal is to not use the Pickens Library anymore, if we can, with the new JFK layout. And we'll let you know if we can find room for that stuff right there on site. That'll free up the space for you.
So I guess we're just waiting for a liaison to eventually be assigned to us, and I
Yes.
guess if it's through you, Mr. Mayor, I'll touch base with you tomorrow, Town Manager, to see about a staff person to help us.
We will be in touch with the liaisons. How many? 2?
It could be two. We really just need one, but
Just one?
we
Okay.
we need at least one. How's that?
We should have
I
two.
just have one.
All right, one final question?
Yep, one,
Okay, so
okay. So,
we have 2 volunteers. Anybody else?
Do you have a question?
Okay,
No?
so, go ahead, Council, Deputy Mayor
I know
Sakala.
that we're out of time, so really quickly, JFK should be good to go. We just had a meeting, so we'll get an update. I think Lori's going to do it. And while you're talking to the BOE about going to JFK, please talk to them about going back to the front of Enfield Street, because being in the
Yeah.
back is stupid.
Yes. I mean,
Okay, thanks.
And I think we all know we know the problem is because they have all their storage of the teachers'
Yep.
items and the library
But
items
if you're going to
there.
be there in front of them, talking to
I
them
will
about
mention that again.
JFK, please tell them it
Yes.
is a detriment to be in the back of
Yes.
that
It's a
It's a
building.
huge pain for everybody, and
Well,
that's one of
we-
those nonpartisan complaints that's been.
Well,
Yeah, we know.
going
We
on.
understand.
Okay, that was it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
one final thing about Enfield Street School, about having the voting in the front of the building. I think it's, much more accessible, obviously. And let me tell you, the way that the parking lot is and the walkway, it's pretty treacherous
It is.
back there until things get fixed up back there.
Yeah.
But
So on the back or the front?
the back is
We had the
worse than the
front fixed
front.
2 years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
So that part of it is good. I will say Counselor Ludwig and Counselor Mangini will be the 2 representatives.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you. We'll
Welcome.
We'll get in touch with you guys once we get rolling here.
All right.
And again, we totally understand the Enfield Street. We don't really want to be in the back either, but I should some of you understand why
Right.
we have been during COVID, and hopefully this November and August it will get rectified, but we will, again, be exploring that again.
Well, thank you very much for your time. Greatly appreciate
Good
it.
to see everybody.
Thank you,
Thank you.
folks.
Thank you. All right, motion to come out? Okay, do I have a motion to come out of executive session? Or a special meeting? I'm sorry, excuse me.
Second.
Just adjourn?
Yeah.
Okay, motion to adjourn. Okay,
Second.
okay, thank you. All in favor, raise your hands. Thank you. Yep. All righty. Public hearing, modification to the tax increment financing policy. It is 6:55. Public hearing, roll call, please.
Counselor Bosco is absent. Deputy Mayor Sakala.
Here.
Mayor Crisati.
Here.
Counselor Despard.
Here.
Counselor Finger.
Here.
Counselor Hopkins.
Here.
Counselor Ludwig.
Here.
Counselor Mangini.
Here.
Counselor Pisner.
Here.
Counselor Santinella is absent. Counselor Ungary.
Here.
That's 9 members present and 2 absent.
Okay. The following notice of public hearing was published in the Journal Enquirer on Friday, January 7th, 2022. Town of Enfield legal notice. The Enfield Town Council will hold a public hearing in the Enfield Town Hall Council Chambers, 820 Enfield Street, Enfield, Connecticut, on Tuesday, January 18th, 2022, at 6:55 now p.m. to allow interested residents an opportunity to express their opinions regarding the modifications to the tax increment financing policy. Information regarding the proposed modifications can be viewed at www.enfieldct.gov. Please direct any questions to the Economic and Community Development Department at 860-253-6391, dated this 4th day of January 2022. Sheila M. Bailey, Town Clerk. The ground rules for the public hearing. There is no time limit, but I ask that each person not take up too much time so that everyone have the opportunity to speak. After each person who desires has had one chance to speak, I shall permit those individuals who desire a second chance, and those individuals who desire to speak a second time, I shall permit those individuals a third, fourth time, how many times that they are necessary. Please refrain from personalities. Okay. Is there anybody who wishes to come in front of the council?
Do you want her to give an update real quick?
Sure. Lori, would you like to give an update, please?
Mr. Mayor and councilors, good evening. It's my first presentation to you, so yay.
Welcome.
So I'm here for a quick overview if you would like, and/or to answer any questions. So if you'd like me to give a quick
How about
overview,
a
I
quick
could do that.
overview? That'd be great.
Okay, so basically, as the TIF Advisory Committee continues to meet and understand more and more as to what we are doing with the TIF and what the program actually calls for, we are finding all of these different nuances that we believe need to be changed to make it better for our community. So this basically is a proposal to change minimum requirements for application and the application fees. This really stems from the fact that we have 2 different TIF areas, one the Enfield Square area and the Thompsonville area. And obviously, a $500,000 minimum developer's cost in the Thompsonville area is pretty unlikely. So we're just trying to make this more accessible to all developers. And if you want, I could go further, but that's up to you. I know you were at a little bit of a time crunch, so.
Okay, I think that's good. Anybody have any questions? Is there anybody who would like to come and speak?
Is it just on this subject, or?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to close the public hearing because nobody's here to speak. Public hearing is now closed. And Councilor Mangini does have a question.
Thank you, Lori, for the brief overview and for the information you provided. The only question I have, I remember when I was on the TIF committee for a short period, that it's a possibility to extend beyond the Thompsonville, greater Thompsonville area, should the need arise. Is that still something that we could look towards?
Just a point of order, shouldn't this wait till it's actually on the agenda? I'm sorry, you shouldn't be, the public hearing was closed, we're starting
all right,
a
you want me to
regular agenda,
wait?
she should be saving her.
Do you want me to wait?
Yeah, I mean, it's not, just saying,
Yeah.
yeah.
We can hold off on that, that's fine.
We could discuss that at a later time, but there is a possibility. How's that? All right. Okay, you're right. My apologies.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay. All right, thank you. Yeah, thank you. The public hearing is officially adjourned. Okay, motion? I don't think we have a motion. Okay. All right, good.
Wearing the mask thing, we have a counselor that's not wearing her mask. I think if we're asking the public to wear their masks to come in, I think all our counselors should be wearing masks. It's just my,
Okay, well,
People sitting next to me don't seem to have a problem with it, I'm not near anybody else, so. I do not enjoy wearing it, I cannot breathe well with it, I've had an issue all week. I will wear it below my nose, which does absolutely nothing if you really insist.
thank you.
Below my nose?
Thanks. Good evening and welcome. Tuesday, January 18th, 7 p.m., Council Chambers, regular meeting. You can also view this meeting on YouTube. We're following the executive order of 14A for masks being required for all meetings held in municipal buildings. We want to make sure that everybody stays safe and well during these difficult times we're experiencing. Please follow all protocols necessary as the numbers are coming down. We're asking all committees to follow these guidelines as well, and all the committees are doing a fine job with this. Our goal is to make sure that our Board of Ed and Town Council are able to conduct their business free of distractions, and we are here to conduct business and not to entertain the mass discussion. Nor do we want to issue warnings to anybody or tickets to non-compliant people in attendance. The town is significantly impacted with several sick employees who are seriously ill and some hospitalized. So our commitment is to do everything possible to do the safeguard and the well-being of our community and our municipal workforce. So thank you for that. Thank you for everybody abiding by this rule. Greatly appreciate it. Prayer, Councilor Hopkins.
Yesterday marked the 93rd birthday of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. This day presents an opportunity to seriously consider whether we are living up to the ideals he lived by and died for. A time for both self-reflection and a clear-headed look at the world around us. With that in mind, I will read an excerpt from King's 1970 sermon regarding the parable of the Good Samaritan. The ultimate measure of a person is not whether one stands in moments of comfort and moments of convenience, but where one stands in moments of challenge and moments of controversy. The true neighbor is the neighbor who will risk his position, his prestige, and even his life for the welfare of others. His altruism is not limited to safe places, but moves through dangerous valleys and hazardous pathways to lift some bruised and beaten brother to a higher and more noble life. We cannot long survive living spiritually apart in a world that is geographically one. As you leave this place, my friends, go out with the conviction that all men are brothers, tied in a single garment of destiny. I must not ignore the wounded man on life's Jericho road, because he is a part of me and I am a part of him. His agony diminishes me and his salvation enlarges me.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very nice.
Thank you, Counselor Hopkins. Roll call, please.
Counselor Bosco is absent. Deputy Mayor Sakala.
I'm sorry, I'm here.
Mayor Crisati.
Here.
Counselor Despard.
Here.
Counselor Finger.
Here.
Counselor Hopkins.
Here.
Counselor Ludwig.
Here.
Counselor Mangini.
Here.
Counselor Pisner.
Here.
Counselor Santinella is absent. Counselor Ungary.
Here.
9 members are present and 2 absent.
Fire evacuation announcement. In the event of a fire, there are exits in the back of the chambers, and to my left and the audience's right. Exit through the doors and go down the stairs and into the parking lot. Number 5, minutes of the preceding meetings. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes of the special meeting on January 3rd, 2022?
So moved.
Deputy Mayor Sakala?
Second.
Counselor Hopkins. Any discussions, deletions, or additions? Okay. By a show of hands, all in favor? Okay. Against? Abstentions? Okay, so it looks like we have 9 in favor. Okay. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes of the regular meeting, January 3rd, 2022?
So moved.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Sakala, second. Counselor Finger. Any discussions, additions, or deletions? By show of hands, all in favor? Okay, so 9 in favor, 0 against, no abstentions.
There's an abstention.
Excuse me,
Abstention.
one abstention?
that
Okay,
wasn't here.
I'm sorry, okay. 8 in favor, 1 abstention. The first, okay. There are no special guests today and public communications. All right, the first round will be approximately an hour. Any person wishing to speak, please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 5 minutes to speak the first round and 3 minutes for each subsequent round. Please refrain from personalities, and we ask that everyone be respectful to one another. Is that, okay? Mr. Janitis?
I really do have a problem breathing with these things on. Can I take it off the talk?
Yes.
Thanks. Well, good evening. My name is Peter Janitis. I live at 3 Farmstead Circle, Enfield, Connecticut. I come before you tonight to speak on the topic of mandatory mask wearing in public buildings and at public meetings. I fully understand that the decision to do so is up to the town manager. It is my contention that we have 3 options concerning the wearing of face masks at our public meetings. Option 1. Option 1 is the one the town manager has already implemented, and it appears with the blessing of the town council that masks must be worn at all public meetings in our public buildings. This decision certainly pleases a large part of our citizenry, and it also has a significant number of citizenry that seriously is PO'd. Option 2. Another way of holding our public meetings could be, and tonight would be a perfect example, would be something like this. You look at the chamber to the left. This building is, or this chamber is divided into 2 distinct areas. You look back on the left, and you look at back on the right. You could have those who want to wear masks sit over on the left-hand side. You could have those who don't want to wear a mask sit on the right-hand side. All those who choose not to wear a mask could speak first. They could come up here and speak with their masks on. They could sanitize the microphone. They could clean the table, whatever they wish to clean up. Then those without masks could come up and speak, and then go back and sit in their seats. Option 3, tell the town manager to go back how things were in regards to the wearing of the masks or not wearing the masks after 5 p.m. Now, I would assume that some of you will fall back on the idea that it's her decision, and I think that's a cheap cop-out and one of the worst ones I've ever heard. The town council hired her, even if it's for an interim basis. This town council can tell her to revert to options 1 or 2, as I've presented. And if not, this town council can tell her to start looking for a new job and start looking quickly. Finally, for those who attend the town council and Board of Ed meetings, you've all been witness to what's going on off camera. To those people sitting at home watching on ETV or on YouTube, you don't see the police presence inside or outside of this building. At the last Board of Ed meeting, there were 5 patrol cars in that parking lot. To my knowledge, there was 1 officer in the chamber here, there was 1 officer outside the chamber, and there was 1 officer downstairs politely talking and professionally talking, explaining to the 25-plus people what the consequences would be if anyone went into the chamber without a mask on or refused to keep their mask on. Bottom line, you would be issued a ticket and have to pay a $100 fine. Let me repeat that. You get a ticket and you pay a $100 fine. And if you still refuse to put on your mask, they would cuff you, arrest you, and take you down to the police station, and that arrest would be on your record. Members of the town council, is this the price you want the people of Enfield will have to pay just to speak at a meeting? Is this what you want? Is this what you really want? Is this 1984 coming to Enfield? I won't make the ridiculous comparisons of Germany back in the 1930s and the 1940s, or the Soviet Union, when Russia was the Soviet Union, or what's going on in China today. But I will say, we are starting to go down an authoritarian road, a road created by the town manager, and it seems accepted by this town council. We can go to a grocery store, we can go to a drug store, we can go to Costco, we can go to restaurants, we can go to bars, churches, casinos, large family gatherings, etc. But we cannot enter these chambers to speak at a public meeting unless we have a mask on. I would like someone on this town council or the town manager to tell us who called for the police present at last Tuesday's Board of Ed meeting. I beg you, get rid of this mask mandate. There are ways to do it. Please, just do it. Thank you, and especially if I took more than 3 minutes. And just as a further note, looking at everybody, or not everybody behind us, this is what we're getting because of these things. People aren't coming to talk. You're beating the brow on them, and I don't know why. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to come before the council?
Hello, my name is, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my name's Dale Bushmovich.
Push the button.
Yeah, the button. Yeah.
Okay, now you can hear me. Okay, 11 Winter Way, Enfield. Name is Dale Bushmovich. I've come tonight to speak on something that will become a voting matter in February, and that's the tax abatement decision for the 113 North Maple property. I'd like to start off with an example. Basically, out of South Windsor, there's a company called Chewy, which is a e-commerce pet product company that is going to build a warehouse there. Now, as reported in the JI, the developers submitted docs to South Windsor Town, the Town Council. They spelled out the scope of the project. This is a 750,000 square foot warehouse, a $175 million project, 800 to 1,000 full-time jobs, $31 million estimated payroll, 3-year tax, the town staff recommended a 45% tax abatement over a 3-year period, totaling $2.6 million.
Now let's move to Enfield, 113 North Maple. This is a 500,000 square foot warehouse being built now, a $50 million project, which it's not clear if it's 50 million, it seems to be a bit spitballed. No estimate of full-time jobs created, appear to be not very many. No estimate for payroll. Here's what the town of Enfield plans to do on this situation. A 50% tax reduction abatement over a 10-year period on an assessed value of $35 million, which 50% of that will be subject to the abatement. That's $6 million over 10 years. The contrast is so striking that I've seen this over and over, where when developers want to develop properties, the town is informed and the people are informed. This is an incredible incentive, and I don't know how this is a good deal for Enfield. There has been really no analysis done on economic benefits to the town, no analysis of the cost to the town, and yet we seem to have been okay with this as a town. Abatement should be tied to economic benefits. There are incentives to create a positive impact on the community, and the residents should see some benefit, even a tax benefit. But our taxes are going up as residents, and it's not, our taxes are going up, our property values will stagnate, and it's just not a good deal for Enfield. The second point is, how has this gone on so long with no awareness on the part of the town, the residents? It seems this is done in complete secrecy. A couple weeks ago, we were made aware of the deal that was going to be presented and voted on. And it was shocking to most people. It's shocking to me. So I just want to say that there's two different approaches that we see here. The town of Enfield has taken a certain approach that's almost incomprehensible. And I know a lot of you feel that this might be a done deal or not, but it's not a done deal. This is something that is a proposal, and I'd like you to understand that. There needs to be a better understanding of what this will benefit for Enfield. So I would like you to consider that the way this thing has been handled is one situation, the deal itself is another situation, and I'd really like you to look long and hard at what the benefit to Enfield is that would qualify for this level of tax abatement. This is extreme. There's many examples you could find. It's a very extreme example. So please look into that. This is a new town council. You've changed your makeup. And I think the voters said, do things differently. They're tired of the old ways. They're tired of the way things have gone. And I think this has been a bad deal. And it will be a bad deal if you approve it. So please look into this. More people will get involved in the next meeting, but I felt it important to come here and just start the groundwork and say, you need to look harder at this deal. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to come in front of the council?
Bob T. Katz, 815 Woodgate Circle. I would think, because the people are speaking without masks, there should be a barrier, a plexiglass barrier to protect the health of everybody that's in the room. You see them in restaurants, you see them when you go to pay at the cashier's desk, so to avoid the contact, because it travels far. And they've done a lot of studies on it. It's one thing about, I want to welcome the new council. This is probably chapter 30 in the councils. It's the 30th council. Welcome the new town manager. Looks like there's going to be some things differently. As far as the number of businesses in Enfield, if you look at this similar-sized towns like Shelton, whose biggest business is manufacturing and office buildings, you look at Wallingford and you look at Southington, similar towns, they have over 4,000 businesses. What does Enfield has? Just a little over 2,000. So over the years, we've been doing something wrong. Where are all the other 2,000 businesses that we should have for similar-sized town? That affects the mill rate. That affects the people moving in. The school population has been declining. At one time in the 70s, it was 15,000 with the 4 parochial schools. We had about 17 elementary schools. We had 2 junior highs, 2 high schools. You see what we have now, 6 elementary schools, 1 middle school, and 1 high school. Expanded, of course. We kept the 6 largest elementary schools. It's down to about 4,600. We're about 73% of capacity with the 6 elementary schools. Something has to be done to revitalize Enfield. And I hope this town council will make that first step, approving more, as many businesses. All these other towns give incentives to get businesses in there. The leading taxpayer in Shelton, Bob Cinto, has just acquired with a major New York manufacturer to move into Shelton. And of course, he's probably he's a developer, he's probably going to build the building for him. But there's going to be about 300 new jobs in Shelton. You look at the employment rate, comparing the other towns to Enfield, we have the highest unemployment rate compared to these other towns. So we have to do something to build Enfield back up. And I'm sure it will take both parties to do it, and I think that should be done. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to come in front of the council for first or a second time? Okay, I declare public communications over. Thank you. Councilor communications, Councilor Mangini.
Thank you. I just had a couple comments. Thank you, Councilman Hopkins, for a very powerful prayer honoring Dr. King. I appreciate that very much, and I think you got the message out that we as a people need to continue to grow and to strive to do his work. So thank you for that. And I do want to applaud our town manager, acting town manager, for her position with the executive decision to mandate the masks. I'm probably, along with many other council people and public, don't really like having to wear this. However, the intent is to protect people from any type of sickness, the COVID that could occur. And it's a hard decision that she had to make, and it's should be noted that she is respected for her decision. And I just wanted to say thank you for that, Ellen. Thank you.
Okay, any other councilor communications? Councilor Hopkins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to note that I spent about 8 hours doing a ride-along with our Enfield Police Department last Friday. It was very interesting, informative. Seeing how the intricacies of the police department work was very interesting. One thing I really made me think of that today is discussion about COVID and masking. And for the last 2 years now, I believe the #1 killer police officers in this country has unfortunately been COVID-19 and complications related to that virus. I really want to encourage the public to take this seriously, if not for yourself, for public servants who are out there serving towns just like those in EPD. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other, Councilor Ludwig?
Yeah, through the mayor to the town manager, I had sent an email to the manager and the leadership, just explain that question, explaining the decision for why the police are now, where I was at the Board of Ed, I don't know if your manager report, if you want to give a report, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I did send an email with that question early in the week. And I agree, I think the public needs to have the right to know, especially if we are down police due to, why are they here at the town hall instead of doing their patrol? So I sent that email through the mayor to you, and hopefully in your manager report, you'll address that question that the gentleman had. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other? Councilor Despard.
Yeah, I just do want to make a note, especially considering the significant public interest in this, that we will, as a council, be acting at our next meeting, February 7th, on that tax abatement issue for 113 North Maple. I think the public interest has been wonderful so far, and I hope it continues. That's all I have.
Okay. I have a couple of comments to make. First of all, for everybody out there that has been being very respectful and abiding by what they need to do and have to do, it's greatly appreciated by myself and everybody up here at the council. So thank you for that. The next thing I just want to mention is, Councilor Hopkins did mention Martin Luther King gave a very nice prayer to start our meeting today. One thing I do want to mention is, about Martin Luther King. He was a fighter for racial justice and equality. He stood to make a difference for every race, and his words spoke for every nationality, and to feel no segregation. So, he was a peaceful man. He spoke with a voice and not violence. And a lot of people don't realize that Martin Luther King Day is a day of service. So what I'm saying to everybody that is out here, because we have people that volunteer in this community to help with the homeless. We have people that volunteer in hospitals. We have people that volunteer in prisons. We have people that help young children, mentor young children that are out there that struggle on a daily basis. To make this community a better place. So we have a lot of people that provide service on a daily basis. And on behalf of myself and the town of Enfield, I want to say thank you to everybody and all our residents that serve and volunteer in this community and live with that spirit. So thank you. One other thing that I do want to mention, January 4th, myself, Councilor Santinella, Councilor Pisner, Councilor Ungary, we spent a lot of time distributing test kits. And I think there was over 5,000. All I know is that my hands got a little tired, my back got a little tired by putting these kits together. And, we worked hard. It was like assembly line work, but it was very rewarding, to pass out the home test kits and mass distribution. And we saw a lot of residents that were very thankful for that. And I know that we're going to continue to work with state officials and local health officials to deploy additional resources for testing, vaccinations, and boosters. And I know that we have things lined up, and I know the town manager will make note of that. Also, this week, the town manager and myself and I went to the CCM virtual meeting to learn about the potential opportunities for the infrastructure and investments. So that was a great meeting that we attended, and there's some important things on the horizon on the state level in terms of workers' compensation for firefighters, group home, nonprofit exemptions, COVID-19 workers' compensation. So, these are things that could eventually, affect us. But attending those meetings are worthwhile. And the last thing that I'm going to mention is, because with this cold weather, I just want to reiterate that we do have the Safe Harbor Warming Center, and we also have additional warming center sites here in town, the Senior Center, the Public Library, and Pearl Street Library. Their hours differ, and I know that St. Pat's Church is open 7 days a week from 9 p.m. until 7 a.m., so the homeless or anybody that needs shelter can go down there. And it's open now through March 31st. So I did want to mention that, and that'll be the last thing that I have to say under Counselor Communications. Okay. All right, Town Manager report.
Thank you. A couple of things for public dissemination. The first is that last week, several months later than expected, the federal government did issue the final rule for the American Rescue Plan Act. And as I noted in some of my communications directly to the council, but now for the public to know, there is an opportunity for us to go back and revisit that wish list that was created. And there's also some different pieces that have been adopted based on public input that are going to make it a lot easier for the town of Enfield to implement some of those projects, as well as the reporting structure. They've also decided to allow towns to take a $10 million blanket reduction of revenue loss and apply it to any projects without any strings attached. And I think that that's something definitely that we should look at in terms of recommendations that could possibly help with some of the topic areas that you've identified as priorities. So that'll be an ongoing topic in future reports. Tied to that is the beginning of the budget process, and I've been working with the Finance Department. We'll be issuing some parameters and guidelines, and I would like to reinstitute for the town the fact that accomplishments and goal setting be included in the budget documents. The last time this was done was the budget year 2016-2017. But I think that the budget, especially with it being accessible online to the public, really needs to include the narrative of the departments and how they're strategic planning individually and how that feeds into our new plan of conservation and development, as well as a lot of the other initiatives. It also gives the town council an idea of where those departmental priorities are. So from a funding decision-making process, you can see where the departments are, similar to what we just did with social services, similar to what happened with some of the building consolidation and facilities recommendations, and all of that can be used in that budget-making process. I also wanted to reference that we are starting to see a decline in our municipal cases for our front-facing public employees with COVID, so hopefully we are over the worst of it. We do have 3 new cases in this building this week. I believe the police, the majority of them are coming out of their 5-day isolation period. There's only been a couple of new cases there. And our early child care daycare workers, which were hit very hard over the last week or so, the majority of them are returning to work as well. Ensuring that we have adequate workforce to provide those front-facing services and the vital services continues to be a priority, which has contributed to the mask policy. It's important that everyone is safe in this building. We have a rigorous cleaning process, but again, this is an extremely contagious variant. So it is my responsibility to ensure that anybody who enters this building is not spreading the variant, and that those who enter are both protected and are able to have meetings in a safe process, but also one that is, not wrought with any kind of controversy, drama. The mask wearing it's unpalatable for most of us, but I think when we see some of the tragedies, some of them even the local stories over the last week of some of the loss of life, especially with some unvaccinated people, one being a very young parent of 2 of our Enfield students, those are the stories that I don't like to hear, and they're the ones that are so clearly preventable that I will stand with my mask policy at this point until the governor makes a recommendation in February, and we have to look at that again. The police were here last week at the request of the Board of Education. There are several people who are uncomfortable at meetings due to the level and tenor of those meetings. And again, for those who are serving the community in either elected or appointed positions, it is important that they can do so in a safe and an orderly manner. They're on part of a regular walkthrough patrol tonight. In fact, I believe the police officer that was here to greet us has already returned to duty. They are above minimum staffing tonight, so it is not an overtime situation. Last week at the Board of Ed, there was a 4-hour overtime applied to it based on the request of the Board of Education that I thought was a good thing to do, and I agreed to it as well with the superintendent. Lastly, we do have the Assistant Town Manager, Kasia Perciello. She is returning to work on Monday, so we do have quite a list for her to tackle when she gets back. And I did want to draw everyone's attention to, we did have a successful, I left this at your place, the dosages, the pediatric doses, booster doses, and first and second doses, as well as 15 employees here in this building were boosted last week. So it was just shy of 500 people that took advantage of that. We are going to continue to have those clinics on Fridays through the end of February. They will be at the Senior Center, and they will be from 1 to 5. The first one is confirmed for next Friday, the 28th. The one subsequent to that, we are waiting for the official formal acceptance by the Department of Public Health. But due to the success that Enfield saw last week, I think that we will definitely see that approval come through this week. So we will be putting that out to the community as well. And they do pediatric as well as boosters, first doses and second doses. And if you haven't received your copy of this week's Hartford Business Journal, the center spread is Enfield. And it's an article about all aboard. After years of waiting, the new Enfield train platform could help revitalize the town district. So it's the centerfold 2 pages about Enfield. And there was also a online article too about one of the factory distribution centers that are proposed. So there's some very good media out there about some of the economic development activity here in town.
Okay. One other thing, in regard to some of the media that is out there, there's also another article about Enfield on Business West. Yes, okay. Okay.
That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Any questions? Councilor Fager?
Good evening. Town Manager, I'm taking this off, I'm sorry. For the art money, the premium pay, before we can discuss anything about it and try to come up with a resolution to see what's fair for everybody, can you please make sure that we all get the seniority list of all the departments that are involved, from DPW, which involves the dispatch, which involves our custodians, our librarians, and DPW itself, and along with the police department, their officers, their union, EMS, their officers and their union. And the one thing I thought of tonight was the Teamsters who handled the buses that go around town. Well, they had to work through all this too, and they are part of the town. So I mean, we like to get the seniority list, and maybe we can all sit down and try to figure out, how this American Rescue Act money can be distributed properly to these people. But that'd be nice if we can have that first before we decide on even, having discussions about it. That's a request I like to have, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for the town manager? Okay, thank you. Town Attorney, Attorney Talbert.
Mr. Mayor, there is no public report from the town attorney tonight.
Okay, thank you. All right, report of special committees. Councilor Mangini.
Just briefly, the 4th of July committee has been meeting, and now we're in the burr of the winter, but July will be coming soon enough, and they're going to put on a fantastic organizational fun event for us that we had not had in 2 years because of the COVID, but they're working very hard, and I'm sure it's going to be a wonderful celebration again. So all support to the 4th of July committee, all the hard workers, all the sponsors. So we need to, keep up the beat with them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Ungar.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to give an update on JFK. The Red Wing is now complete, and all the students and teachers are all in their classrooms and settled in, and they've had to wait the longest, so I'm sure they're really excited to be there and get some normalcy back to their life. All the computer areas are all complete. One thing I noticed in particular is that some of the interior rooms have some beautiful skylights, and that'll let in a lot of natural light, so I thought that was great, whoever thought of that. The material process area, that's all complete. And it's interesting to see how anybody who knows the building, how they've rearranged and replaced a lot of different things. The science, technology, and robotics area is in the old auditorium, and the old kitchen is now the new guidance department. The boiler room is 98% complete, and they're still all ahead of schedule, so they're happy about that. They're going to have some leftover money, and they're going to use it to irrigate the fields and put some lights up at the basketball court and acquire a couple storage sheds. So that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just add one?
Yes, Deputy Mayor Scala?
Just one add on that, and they are working on getting another reimbursement request into the state as well for a chunk of money. That was my only add-on.
Okay, great. Councilor Hopkins?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am the liaison to the North Central District Health Department Committee. They're really working very hard to find money to do some repairs to their building. They are approaching that, the amount that they actually need to finish that. I just want to update people in the community who do use that resource, especially during a pandemic. They're looking hard to do that. I think they will likely be able to find that money before the end of this year. So if you're somebody who's interested in that, please keep abreast of it. I'm happy to talk to anybody who wants to reach out to me about that. Additionally, I did sit with the Blight Committee along with Councilor Ungeier. Some requests were received, and one of those is a subject of a resolution tonight. I just want to remind folks there are many openings for town boards and commissions. If you're interested in a variety of issues in town, I really strongly encourage you to get involved. The portal for applying to those and learning about what they are is online on the town website. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to direct you to the right place. This stuff is very important, but it's often hard to get people out to fill these seats. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor Scala?
Joint facilities met this week. Councilor Pisner, myself, and Councilor Despard were all on members, and just a couple of, I guess, 3 areas that are, I think, everybody's points. Eli Whitney and Hazardville Memorial, the bids for those roofs are out now. They are due the 28th, next week. Pre-bid walkthrough was today, and since the rooferendum, as we've dubbed it, has passed, the committee has sort of started talking about timing and if there is some reprioritization that's needed on those roofs. And we had, a long discussion with Donald, and we'll be working to make sure that continues on the path that we need to in order to get those roofs done in a timely manner. And lastly, transfer station, still working on that. Bid came in a little high, so we had some discussion about trying to find a way to solve that problem and make sure the transfer station is done in a timely manner and up to the specs that everybody wants it to in that committee, and the town and the transfer station employees deserve. So good things happening there.
Okay, thank you. I have one report back from the Commission on Aging. I know myself and Marie were liaisons to the group, and it's nice to see all the members of the Commission on Aging. They really put their heart and soul into it for this town. Kudos to the chairman, Dave Goyette. He really informs everybody of every latest thing, and I know that he had just put out an email to everybody in regard to the government passing out you're able to go online and register for free testing kits. I know that just came out today. One thing that I do want to mention, that it's tax season, and the senior center will be having appointments with, they're going to have 36 appointments per day, and they're going to have volunteers from AARP to help with people. They're going to start taking appointments January 20th, and all the appointments will run from February 7th through April 18th on Monday. So January 20th is right around the corner, so For people who need tax assistance, please call for your appointments, and AARP volunteers will be helping you with that. I just want to give a shout out because the Commission on Aging, you know, they have the senior minor home repair, which is headed up by Tim Slade, and we're in the process of, you know, his workshop is over at the annex right now, and I know that his work again will resume again in March, and he wants to have this working relationship so that he can gain access into the building during regular business hours. And he does have a good relationship with all the custodians there, getting entrance in and out, but there are times where he does need to get into the building. So if we could maybe look for a possibility of Mr. Slade getting access into the annex come springtime without having to, or during business hours without always having to contact a custodian. Okay, so that's a possibility. Senior living program, they got grandparents raising grandchildren, they have the Choices program, the nursing home project, the elderly care services coordinator. I just want to say thank you to Jennifer Switalski for she's leaving Enfield for a new position with the state of Connecticut. Over the past 3 years, she has serviced hundreds of seniors, and I just want to say that she served this town with dignity and respect to all the people that she serviced, and we wish her all the best. Thank you. All righty. Next, under old business, A will remain on the table. B, discussion resolution adopting the revised solid waste ordinance. Do I have a motion to remove from the table?
Motion.
Councilor Mangini, a second. Councilor Finger, any discussion from removing from the table? Okay, by a show of hands, all in favor? Okay, there's none against, no abstentions. All right, so we have 8 in favor. Okay, the resolution. The resolution to adopt the revised municipal solid waste ordinance, whereas the volume of the municipal solid waste produced in the town of Enfield and the cost of disposal have been increasing at a significant rate, and whereas the rate of recycling as a percentage of total waste has been declining, and whereas the Enfield Department of Public Works have drafted a revised municipal solid waste ordinance which is intended to control costs and increase recycling, and whereas the ordinance has been reviewed and revised with the input of the Public Works Subcommittee of the Town Council, and whereas at the public hearing conducted on August 2nd, 2021, the residents of the town of Enfield have had the opportunity to ask questions of town staff and make comments to the town council regarding the proposed ordinance. Therefore, be it resolved, the Enfield Town Council hereby approve and adopt the attached municipal solid waste ordinance effective February 28, 2022, to allow for public education and implementation. Date prepared January 14th, 2022, prepared by the Department of Public Works.
So moved.
Councilor Mangini, a second. Councilor Finger. Discussions.
Mayor and Town Council, we do have representatives from the Public Works here to answer specific questions. We had a very thorough discussion about this at the Public Works Subcommittee meeting. There's a lot that goes into the solid waste discussion right now. As many of you are aware, there is a solid waste crisis within the state of Connecticut and across the country. A lot of this is predicated on the China sword policy that I'm sure many of you have seen in the paper, which has created a volatility within the solid waste market, both for solid waste trash as well as our recycling materials. And for those of you who have been on the town council for a while, you probably remember that at one time there was credits issued to municipal government for recycling products that were sent overseas and that were a highly valued commodity. That has now changed, and we as a community are paying for the disposal of recyclable materials as well as our solid waste materials. And then we also have disposal fees for our yard waste that we pick up for our residents and process. So this is a really difficult and complex type of financial issue that's facing you when you revise this policy. Complicated by the matter that the town of Enfield is extremely generous to its residents and its businesses in terms of the number of barrels that it allows for pickup, specifically for solid waste and for yard waste. Clearly, with the state of recycling and the lower costs for that processing, which is about $11 right now as compared to what we're paying now for solid waste, which is $85, the more people we have recycling, the better. So the more barrels that we can get out there and people are doing it in a blue barrel as opposed to a gray barrel, that's good for the town. However, I do want to let you know that this is going to continue to change as the prices change, and the director and the deputy director can talk to you a little bit about what that means in terms of future budget issues. But I just want you to be aware that as we continue to try to hone in on this policy, there may be some other opportunities as well to come back and continually amend it based on market conditions. So as much as this is a really solid policy with an endorsement out of the subcommittee, I do want to just caution you that you may be seeing it again, especially as some of those contracts change. I'll let Donald and his staff answer some of the more specific questions that you might have presentation-wise.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor. Donald Nunes, Director of Public Works.
Ken Boulette, Assistant Director.
Good evening.
Good evening. Like a quick overview of the highlights of what really, some of the changes. All right, so I'll start with the single-family homes. Right now, a single-family home will be allowed a maximum of 3 tipper barrels. The first tipper barrel is no cost to dump it. The second tipper barrel is $85 per year, and the third tipper barrel is $85 per year. And as the manager said, that $85 is predicated on being cost neutral to the town, to what we pay. Right now, we're at $81.50 per ton. The average person throws out 1.06 tons, which equals $85. If next year, when the tonnage rate goes from $81.50 to $83, that $85 is going to go up to like another $5 to $90 for that barrel for the year. That's just for us to come pick it up and dispose it. If you don't already have a second or a third tipper, if you want it, you have to purchase one. That's $60 at DPW. So the cost of the barrel, which you may or may not, which you don't own, is on top of the $85 per year for collection. On top of that. For single-family homes, the recycling, we're allowing up to 4 tipper barrels, which we will happily take as many tipper barrels that are filled up with recycling. Right now, as the manager said, we're at 1104 per ton for disposal. So every pound that we can take out of $81.50 a ton and bring it into 1104, I'll take that any day of the week. And that is, recycling is no cost. For single-family homes and yard waste, not including the spring cleanup or the fall leaf collections, will be allowed a maximum of 4 tipper barrels. The first 2 tipper barrels are free, and if you want a third and a fourth one, it'll be $45 per year per barrel. That's just for us to dispose of it. Again, if you don't own that third and fourth and want one and you need one, you got to go see Ken and our staff, and we'll get you a barrel for $60 a piece. For 2, 3, and 4 family homes, for trash, you'll have a maximum of 2 barrels per unit. The first tipper per unit is free, and the second tipper per each unit is $85 per year. So again, on a 4-family house, you can have 4 barrels for free, and if they want another 4, we can have 4, but you have to pay $85 per barrel for that. That holds true for 2, 3, and 4 families. The recycling for a 2, 3, and 4 family home will be a maximum of 4 tipper barrels per unit. So on a 4-family, you could actually have up to 16, which again, every pound taken out of that at $81.50 puts into $11.04 per ton. 2, 3, 4 family homes for yard waste. There are a maximum of 4 tipper barrels per property. The first and second are free. Third and fourth, again, are $45 for that. For commercial and any multifamily now over 5 units, the maximum will be a maximum of 3 tipper barrels per property. The first tipper barrel is free, the second tipper barrel is $85, and the third is $85. Commercial and multifamily over 5 are not eligible for yard waste as well, so that's off. Regarding some of the changes at the transfer station fees, I just want to remind that there's some minor changes with pricing, but one of the bigger ones is that there's still there will be an annual commercial business permit with a primary address in Enfield, and that'll be $120 per year. And the brush and tree debris will be 7 cents a pound after the 5th visit. So you get 5 visits. For whatever, after that, we're going to start charging for that. So that is kind of the overall general scheme of it, and there's a few other things that we can answer later on, so.
Okay. Any questions? Councilor Mangini?
I'm sorry, thank you. The question that I have, I think I'm still a little confused with the gray barrel, the trash barrel. If a homeowner, a residential homeowner, just single-family home, owns more than one, let's say they own 2, because they bought them 20 years ago, is there a charge, an additional charge, if they put both of those barrels out to be cleaned up?
All right, so some of that's going to be with the rollout. All right, so we have tags that are going to go around the handle part of the barrel that has a number on it, and it doesn't have the year, right? This one, no, just the red number and the red. So that's going to be for this year. So the resident needs to decide which of the barrels they're going to bring out. That's their free one. If they want to put out a second one, it's going to be $85 paid to us. So if the driver pulls up and there is 2 gray tippers and one of them has a red tag on them and the other one does not, we're going to pick up the barrel with the red tag and leave the one that doesn't, because that's not paid for.
See, and that's the part of this new policy that I totally disagree with, because I use me as an example. I bought 2 years ago. I currently only use 1, but in the event that I had to use 2, I got to pay another $85 to the town of Enfield to pick that second one up, even though I already paid for the second tipper for both barrels.
If you put it year-round, there are special occasions that Ken can talk about that.
No, I'm talking about next Wednesday, for example.
Yes. That would be part of that $85, but the other...
There's like 6 major holidays, Christmas, New Year's, Memorial Day, where you might have a party, barbecue or something, that they will be allowed to put out the additional 2 barrels without a tag that we will pick up. But it's only like about 6 holidays, Counselor.
But aside from that, on a normal every week pickup, I would be charged $85.
You'll get your free one, but if that second one doesn't have a tag on it, we're going to leave it, whether it's full or not.
And there would be a charge of $85.
Then we'll come out, put another. We will come
for the year.
That's for the year.
Yes,
that is
each time.
The year, okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to put another tag. If you pay again, Department of Public Works, the $85, we're going to go and put another tag on that. So now when you wheel them out, you're going to have one tag on your original. You're going to have another tag. Our drivers know that we're good, that you've paid, per the policy, you've paid that, and we'll pick it up for $85 for the entire year.
I still don't think there should be a charge, but thanks for clarifying that.
Yep. Councilor Ungar?
I just wanted to mention, Councilor Mangini, if you factor in the 52 weeks in a year, it costs $1.63. Just if people can understand that a little bit easier.
That's the principle of the matter. People have already purchased these things, and now they have to pay again to use them, so.
Councilor Finger?
But it's not the principle. It is the cost that's cost the taxpayers, all right? It's the cost. It's not the principle, it's the cost. And remember now, and Mr. Bullitt and Mr. News will tell you that we get a lot of people who put 50-pound bags of cement in these tippers. They put microwaves, they put little refrigerators, they put everything in there that they can to sneak it in there, and it's costing us to throw the stuff away. We try to catch it as best as we can, but, you know, you can't catch everything all the time. Again, it's just, you know, if you're using one now, you're going to be using one year round. You know what I mean? So it's not like it's anything bad that or different you're going to be doing. It's those who abuse it and those who don't know how to recycle properly. That's why education about all this is mostly important about through this whole thing that we're going through. Education to the public about what to do and not to do, and making sure that our operators are operating under the guidelines also too. So again, it's not principle, it's cost. So that's just my opinion to you. That's all. Thank you.
Councilor Ludwig?
You know, I think it's helpful to welcome. Good seeing you guys. It's helpful to remind people. It's next year, I believe, right? So, excuse me. Right. So right now it's $85 a ton, but so I want to make sure that the timing. I believe it's next year, so it would be next fiscal year, right? The state now is going to be shipping. Well, I know they're looking for a destination for bulky trash, which we estimate will cost per ton approximately $100. I remember seeing. I'm reminded it was like $145 a ton, if I recall.
That was through Mira. And so right now,
I think it's helpful to remind that the reason why we're doing this is not because we're trying to get more, you know, for a second barrel. It's because, by the way, we're paying $83 a ton now, but within a year, maybe 2 years, maybe even a year, it's going to be $100 and something to dispose of this.
Yeah, you're correct, Councilor. Our contract, again, we're at $81.50 until June 30th of this year.
Right.
We go to $83 on July 1st until June 30th of 2023. We're going to be going out to bid in the winter of January, February of 23 to see how that goes from there. Our neighbors are anywhere between $95 and $120 per ton right now for getting rid of their trash
But
right
is that
now.
disposing it locally, right? My understanding, we're not going to be able, disagree with, I mean, certainly correct me, but my understanding within a year or two, we're not going to be able to dispose it within a general area, and the cost to transport this is going to go up, which is not in the $85 or $83 we're charged now.
There's no current facility in Connecticut.
Correct,
There's no more landfill facilities in
And
Connecticut.
my understanding at this point, there's no desire to open one.
Correct. Mira, which has 51 host communities in Hartford, is no longer burning as of July 2022. So in basically 5 months, they're going to stop doing that, and they're going to use that as a transfer station. So bring all 51 communities who are locked in or possibly locked in until 2027 can still use it as a transfer station facility, but the prices are going to go up because now they have to handle every single bag and everything through there. So they're going to be taking that out. They're already shipping to Ohio and other states out in the Midwest.
That's right, yeah. So we're actually trying to get ahead of what we know is coming, and it's going to be a significant cost for us to dispose trash within a very short amount of time.
Yes.
Which is going to impact everyone's budget, and then, of course, your taxes. So we're trying to get a hold of it, so look, recycle more. And I don't know if we decided to do a campaign to remind people what is recyclable. I know we talked about it. I know we've been, Councilor Bosco's been working on this for a number of years. So if that is, I'll let you answer that. But so go ahead, sorry, because I have 3 specific questions I want to ask you. Go right ahead.
All right, well, the rollout is going to be very complicated, and Ken and I met this morning for a couple hours
fair,
already.
I know.
There's a lot of moving parts to that whole thing.
We haven't done a recycling campaign in years.
Yeah.
It's been a while. All right.
Our biggest thing right now, our number one focus is we're trying to get them up with a simple graphic, simple one-page thing that could be posted up on our website of what the residents should expect, that what we expect from them and what they should expect from us. Like, again, you're going to see trucks driving down the street and, people do all that kind of stuff like that. So that's the number one thing right now is to get that out, hopefully before the end of this week. If it's successful tonight, obviously, we try to get that out for the end of this week to make sure that goes out. Then now we got to start with the education and all the other I have a myriad of things that Ken doesn't know I have ready for him tomorrow sometime.
Ken's ready to roll.
He's taking it.
He's good. So I actually I have 2, so I'm gonna actually have to pay. I have 2 gray barrels ready, so now I got to pay $85, which is fine. But the question, I remember an individual came. I know it's been a while that spoke here. There are different levels of gray barrels. So I know I have like a normal one. But the individual had there's a smaller ones, almost like you see in a restaurant where you just chuck it. Is everything's $85, or is it going to be graded based on the size of the gray barrel?
Well, realistically, we would like to go to all 96-gallon barrels. There are some senior residents out there.
Right.
that
The other
have
thing
a-
was someone-
They have a
yeah.
48, there's some 64s. We even had some 32s, which really don't accommodate the one-armed bandits that we call the trucks that pick them up. And that really hasn't been discussed, Counselor, about, to allow somebody to have two 48s at the price of a 96. And that's, one of the questions I've been actually discussing with one of my collectors who, he's on the streets and he comes up with these ideas. Ideally, we'd like to have everybody have the same size barrel. There is an issue with production on barrels. It's just taken so long to get them. We placed an order in August, for yard waste barrels.
Right.
We still haven't received it. We have an, order for some more trash. We do have a decent stock on recycling barrels. Recycling takes off. We'll be out of that, and just.
So I would be all for it being a little creative with those smaller gray barrels. That's just hopefully you guys, I know you'll take it into consideration, so I'll leave it to you. So I want to be clear on something you said. So single family home, so they can have up to four, you want to make sure 3 gray barrels, 1 they get for free, 2 they have to pay for.
Yes.
Right. So now on the blue barrels, right now you can have 4. Are you getting those for free or are you charging for the blue barrels?
Those are given out for free.
So they just have to go online, fill,
Yes.
so they can have 4 free blue barrels.
But they have to prove, they have to prove their recycling, how good they're
Got
recycling.
it.
We just can't
Yeah,
go there
here,
and just
all
give
right.
them 4 barrels because they cost us,
I think that's key. I don't think that was clear that people can actually get those for free. If you don't want to pay for the second, gray barrel, which is
Yes,
different, right?
They are free. They are a cost to the town, but they are
No,
free.
I mean, right.
Yes.
I'm not free to, but I mean free to the taxpayer.
Yeah,
correct.
free to taxpayers.
Right,
We
free's
just
a
ask
very subjective word.
Yeah, just, for breaking them down, full boxes get in there, it creates problems, it's just, so we.
And then the brown barrels, again, you want to make sure, again, it's easier by knowing the brown barrels, you can get 4 now, right? I just want to make sure you're clear, is it 2 for free, 2 you have to pay for, or is it all
Yes.
4 for free to the taxpayer?
there's 2 free barrels that we will pick up for yard waste. And if you want to have an additional 2, you have to pay $45 each barrel.
Got it. Okay. Which, I got to tell you, it really, I've done some research and I actually know some people from other towns. Not paying for those first and having the pickup that we do from April to December, really. Most towns charge for that. It is a really good service. It really is. And it keeps people, maintains their home. The purpose is all there. But it is a really good service that we provide with those brown barrels. And I can just tell you back when we were going back early in the pandemic, the fact that we were still picking up barrels was one of the best things we did as a town. So, I think it really is a great service, and people don't realize that other towns charge for 1 brown barrel, mostly. Most of them do. So I think it's a great service. So I think it's, I know you guys have worked with various counselors, certainly Counselor Bosco, who's not here, has worked on this for 2-3 years. And again, I think people need to understand, and I think it's the key is, the cost is going to go up exponentially. We'd love not to have to charge for a second gray barrel, but unless you want to pay $145 approximately within a year or two to discard your bulky waste, that's a reality that not only Enfield is going to face, but every other town in Connecticut, for that matter.
Yeah, Councilor, not only is the rate going to go up, but our yearly totals
Correct,
have
right,
gone.
right.
They're on a J-shaped curve right now, so
Yeah.
they're not like they're pretty steady. They're starting to really climb. I don't know if it's because, again, folks are home.
Right.
That whole pandemic thing, and hopefully that's just the blip on why we're so high right now for tonnage. But again, since FY17, we've gone up over 2,000 tons already.
So last question, Paul, last question. So realistically, when we go to bid, really, where do you think, I know there's a lot of states not doing this now. So where is realistically the closest, discharge you think we're going to, it's going to affect the cost? Will we be able to get anyone in New England?
USA is on, their office on Mullen Road, and we bring it to Babylon, and
Yeah, Babylon, and it's being shipped out of state now. We got a great deal. Even though I hate to say it, 'cause it's millions of dollars that it costs to get rid of it. But the next contract is like as you said, it's going to be a significant increase.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your patience, and I know all the work that you guys have done in this over the last 2 to 3 years.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Ungary.
Just a quick question. To support your employees, the drivers, does it matter how close or far apart all these barrels are when they're at the curb?
Yes, we ask them to place the barrels 3 feet apart, because with the one-arm band, just the fingers that come out, we'd like to have them separated, and that, goes for, rubbish to rubbish, or rubbish recycler, or even 2 yard waste barrels. It does make it a lot easier, and not to put them next to parked cars or your mailbox, because we like to keep those intact.
Right, because I see a lot of them. They're all like right next to each other.
If they're right next to each other, when
Right, and-
that claw goes out and it has to go around it,
Okay,
they kind of hitting the other ones, or they have to kind of jockey or move them to move another one to go kind of do it. So we're trying to
Well, that's
trying to
good.
limit
We need
that.
to
Yeah.
get that word out.
Yeah.
Councilor Finger.
Just make it clear though, Councilor Lovick, is that they don't get free brown tippers. That's what you're saying, obviously, is that they're not getting free brown tippers. It's just the cost of those extra tags on the 3rd and 4th.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, because the way it was worded, I'm like, no, it's not.
I shouldn't have said use the word free, but
That's all right.
discounted rate maybe is a better word.
Yeah, there you go. But let's just remember, too, we also have the cardboard recycling at the transfer station. There's 4 dumpsters there. You can bring all your extra cardboard there. You don't have to, you have to break it down. You got to get inside those slots, but you don't have to necessarily use another brown tipper for that. You can bring it to the transfer station for that. Blue tipper. As a reminder. Thank you.
Councilor Mangini.
Thank you, and thank you for your hard work in the committee. I know I served on that DPW committee. It's intense, and you all did a great job. I am going to support the resolution, but I am opposed to the $85. I have to make that clear. Again, it is what it is. I understand the cost, but from my perspective, it is the principle of the matter. But I will support the resolution. You've all worked hard, and you've done a good job with it. For the changes. Thank you.
Okay, one final comment. Thank you for your hard work. This has been on the table since August, and here we are in,
But we're here.
January
We're here.
2022. We are here. Pretty happy with the final end product of it, being involved in a few of the meetings. So when the committee came back with their recommendations, everybody worked collaboratively for the best for our town, so thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Appreciate it. All right, any other further questions? Okay, all right. Next.
Not so much a question, just a
Yeah.
briefly. I think, we are one of a few towns that have
He's got.
I apologize. We are one of the few towns that has a municipal waste service, and that's an incredible, I think, benefit to our town. A lot of people use it. It's much cheaper than using some kind of private service, and I think that people worked really hard and looked at ways to try to make the math work for a second barrel. I agree entirely. I wish we could do that. Doesn't seem like the math works out. Even if we were to try to fudge that for this year, really it's just a compounding problem. And I know you guys have done a lot of work. That $85 comes out of very specific calculations. And unfortunately, that's the way this has to go, because we want to protect our local waste collection service that everyone relies on. So thank you.
Go ahead, Councilor Finger.
Mr. Nunes, is that February 28th date a good date for you to try to initialize all this? I mean, I know this is going to be a lot of work and getting the tags out and getting everything numbered and address and stuff. So is February 28th a good date for you?
Well, it's going to be
February
crazy.
30th.
It's going to be crazy
30th.
times, to be honest with you. But we actually have 5 rubbish runs right now that we pick up trash on Monday through Thursday. The plan is to do 1 rubbish run per week. So those 4 days we'll be out tagging barrels, either just before they're picked up or just after, because we want to get them while they're on the street. So it doesn't give us any leeway. One of my concerns is winter weather, but we're going to try to make it happen. This has been, put off so long, so we're going to do everything in our powers to make it happen. And, you know,
That was
pray
part of
and
the,
wish
that
for
was,
the best.
that was part of the 2-hour conversation this morning, so.
Okay. All right, thank you very much.
I just wanted to add one more thing here. You know, talking with Donald and actually talking to a few of the guys, you know, I think we really need for residents, or if a business wants to put out a second or third barrel, we're going to need like a 30-day grace period. So realistically, I'm going to throw this out there, and Donald can kick me under the table. It may be April 1st till we really have to really enforce it hard, because it may take some time, and just, you know, trying to educate the public and, you know, try to create a smooth transition.
Okay.
And to that point, the enforcement part of it is, it has a lot more teeth to it now. So again, that's that part that he was talking about, where somebody makes a boo-boo, we're not going to hammer them, you know. You get me? Well, it's going to be a case-by-case thing. If we have a frequent flyer, or, you know, a habitual abuser of things, that's a different story. But again, the person that whoops it, you know, we deal with them. Then after that, we just remind them, again, in part of the re-education, this is what we're doing now, this is what we got to do, and going forward, you got to do this. So we're gonna, that's the grace period. I think that we were all kind of understanding that, give everybody time to get used to it. We're not gonna put up with it. You know, that
Right.
we can't let that go on forever, because it would destroy the value of this. And again, the biggest thing that seemed to be unanimous was having those tipper barrels removed by, you know, 7 by that nighttime, and not be out there for days or what other kind of stuff like that. So that's the kind of enforcement. But we got it under control. We got some good ideas. I got great staff. We'll be able to take care of it. Much to Ken's chagrin,
Well,
but
thank you very much. Greatly appreciate it. Sheila, roll call.
Counselor Hopkins.
4.
Counselor Ludwig.
4.
Counselor Mangini.
4.
Counselor Pisner. 4. Counselor Ungary.
4.
Deputy Mayor Sakala.
4.
Mayor Casati.
4.
Counselor Despard.
4.
Counselor Finger.
4.
It's 9 in favor, none against, and no abstentions.
C, discussion resolution adopting revised bulky waste transfer station fee schedule. Do I have a motion to remove from the table?
Motion.
Councilor Mangini, second. Councilor Finger. Any discussion from removing from the table? Okay, by a show of hands, all in favor? Okay. Against, abstentions, none. Okay. 9 in favor. All right, resolution. Resolution to adopt a revised bulky waste collection fee schedule, whereas the cost of the disposal of bulk municipal solid waste collected at the Town of Enfield Transfer Station and through the residential bulk pickup program have been increasing at a significant rate, and whereas the Enfield Department of Public Works has drafted a revised bulky waste fee schedule, which is intended to control the cost of bulky waste collection to the town. And whereas this schedule has been reviewed and revised with the input of the Public Works Subcommittee, the Town Council, and whereas at a public hearing conducted on August 2nd, 2021, the residents of the Town of Enfield have had the opportunity to ask questions of town staff and make comments to the Town Council regarding the proposed schedule. Therefore, be it resolved that the Enfield Town Council hereby approve and adopt the attached bulky waste fee schedule, date prepared July 26, 2021, prepared by the Department of Public Works.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Deputy Mayor Sakala. All right. Any discussions? Yes. Councilor Finger.
Yes, I don't know how exactly this is going to proceed or go, but I'd like to make, if we can, an amendment to this, because on the Town of Enfield bulky waste transfer station fees page here, it says fees effective January 15th, 2022. Well, today's the 18th. We haven't even voted them in yet. So I think if this is the right way of doing it, again, new on the council, so help me out here. I'd like to make an amendment to that. We start the fees on the 25th of February, 2022. No, February. I'm sorry, January 25th. Thank you. January 25th, 2022.
January 25th?
Yeah.
All right. Do I have a motion to make an amendment or a second?
Just get a second.
A second.
Yep.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay,
I'll
thank you.
second.
Deputy Mayor Sakala. Okay, very good. What's that?
So,
Okay, all in favor?
Just so to be clear, if it's on the second page, it says effective, just, it says January 15th, he's changing it to February 25th.
The 25th, correct.
2022.
January 25th.
January 25th, 2022, is on page 2.
So that's the language change. Yep, got it.
Yes.
Yep, the
Thank
bulky
you, Mike.
waste transfer station fee is effective January 25th, 2022. Okay, very good. All in favor? Okay, thank you. So- Okay, any discussion on this?
Just had one quick question, sorry.
Yes, yes.
On page 2, the refrigeration units include air conditioning, right? Air conditioning, yep, thank you. Yep, thank you, all set.
We are now going to be voting as amended. Sheila, roll call.
I'm sorry, Mayor Crissati, did we vote on the amendment yet? Or is this the roll call for the amendment? I'm sorry, I just lost track.
Do you have to
Okay.
do a roll call for the amendment or just by hands?
Just by hand.
Just by hands?
You
We
did?
did
Okay.
that, yeah. Okay, I'm getting a little
Sorry.
confused. No, that's okay. All right.
Counselor Hopkins,
4.
Counselor Ludwig,
4.
Counselor Mangini.
4.
Counselor Pisner. 4. Counselor Ungary.
4.
Deputy Mayor Sakala.
4.
Mayor Crissati.
4.
Counselor Despard.
4.
Counselor Finger.
4.
That's 9 in favor, none against, and no abstentions.
Okay, new business, consent agenda action, none. We'll go to page 2, thank you. Okay. Appointments, B, town council appointed, none. C, appointments, town manager appointed, council approved, none. D, appointments, P and Z, commission appointed, council approved, none. Number 14, B1, appointments.
Yeah,
Okay.
we skipped B1.
What's up?
We skipped B1. Cultural.
No, I'm doing that
Oh, I'm
right,
sorry.
I'm doing it right now. I'm just going.
I'm skipping ahead of you.
I'm going through the agenda here, everyone. I'm going to B1 right now.
Sorry.
Okay.
Can I make the appointment?
Okay, Enfield Cultural and Arts Commission, a vacancy exists due to the resignation of Samantha Nolan. Replacement would be until 5/31/2023. Do I have a nomination? Counselor Mangini?
Yes, excuse me, I'd like to nominate Stephanie McGillivray.
Okay, do I have a second? Second. Counselor Finger? Are there any other nominations? Okay. Do I have a motion to close nominations? A second?
Second.
Counselor Hopkins, all in favor of closing nominations? Against? Abstentions? Okay, 8 in favor. All right. Sheila, roll call.
Counselor Hopkins.
4.
Counselor Ludwig.
4.
Counselor Mangini.
Stephanie McGillivray.
Counselor Pisner. 4. Counselor Ungary. 4. Deputy Mayor Sakala.
4.
Mayor Crissati.
4.
Counselor Despard.
4.
Counselor Finger.
4.
9 in favor, none against, and no abstentions.
Okay, C, appointments, town manager appointed, council approved, none. D, appointments, P and Z commission appointed, council approved, none. We move to A, discussion, resolution, request for transfer of funds for police department, JAG grant, $34,000. Resolved that in accordance with Chapter 6, Section 8F of the Town Charter, the following transfer is hereby made to grant-funded projects, JAG grant fiscal year 2021-2022 for vehicles, $34,000 from grant-funded project revenue fiscal year 2021-2022, JAG grant revenue, $34,000. Certification, I hereby certify that the above stated funds are available as of January 10th, 2022. John Wilcox, Director of Finance. Date, January 12th, 2022. Approved by Ellen Zappo-Sasu, Town Manager. Date, 1/12/22.
So moved.
Deputy Mayor Sakala, second, Councilor Mangini. Any discussions or questions? Okay, Sheila, roll call, please.
Counselor Hopkins,
4.
Counselor Ludwig,
4.
Counselor Mangini.
4.
Counselor Pisner.
4.
Counselor Ungary.
4.
Deputy Mayor Sakala.
4.
Mayor Crisati.
4.
Counselor Despard.
4.
Counselor Finger.
4.
9 in favor, none against, and no abstentions.
Okay, F, discussion resolution, request for transfer of funds for EMS, $71,654. Resolve that in accordance with Chapter 6, Section 8F of the Town Charter, the following transfer is hereby made to EMS, a vehicle, $59,792, other equipment, $11,862, from EMS revenue, miscellaneous federal revenue, $71,654. Certification. I hereby certify that the above stated funds are available as of January 7th, 2022. John A. Wilcox, Director of Finance, and approved by Ellen Zappo-Sasu on January 7th, 2022.
So moved.
Councilor Mangini?
Second.
Councilor Hopkins, any discussion? Hi, Aaron, how are you? I think you're, okay.
Hi,
there
good
you are.
evening. It's Erin.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi.
Welcome. Would you like to discuss the resolution, please?
Sure.
Yeah.
So back in November, we applied to the federal government through the Department of Health and Human Services for Phase 4 COVID relief funding. And in December, we were awarded $71,654. Those funds must be used by December 31st of 2022. They must specifically be used to prevent, prepare for, or respond to the coronavirus. Our intent when applying for Phase 4 COVID funding was to purchase a paramedic response vehicle and a mechanical CPR device. The vehicle will replace a 2010 paramedic vehicle that we currently own.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from anyone? Yes.
No question, just
All right.
great job. Way to go out and get this, the funding for a new vehicle. Great job.
Thank you.
All right. Any other comments, discussions? Roll call, please.
Counselor Hopkins.
4.
Counselor Ludwig.
4.
Counselor Mangini.
4.
Counselor Pisner.
4.
Counselor Ungary.
4.
Deputy Mayor Sakala.
4.
Mayor Crisati.
4.
Counselor Despard.
4.
Counselor Finger.
4.
9 in favor, none against, and no abstentions.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.
Okay. G, discussion resolution to adopt the proposed amendment to the Town of Enfield tax increment financing policy. Whereas the Enfield Town Council adopted the Town of Enfield tax increment financing, the TIF policy, on June 3rd, 2019, and whereas the TIF Advisory Committee is recommending that certain modifications be made to the TIF policy in order to have the ability to incentivize future investments being made within the Thompsonville District. And whereas a public hearing was held on January 18th, 2022 regarding the proposed modifications, now therefore be it resolved, the Enfield Town Council hereby modifies the TIF policy.
So moved.
Councilor Mangini, second, Councilor Finger. Discussions. Ellen, okay, Councilor Hopkins?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just very briefly, I think this is a tool that can really be put to good use in attracting businesses, and in particular, the kinds of businesses that really work well alongside our local homes and residents living here. I think that's vital to building a town where people like to live in. You know, we need to grow our grand list so that we aren't raising taxes. I think this is a great way to do that. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I do have one comment. Being on the original committee with this, that started up the TIF policy, and with this amendment, so to the people that were involved with the TIF TIF policy. And remember that the TIF policy is designed and encouraged, for industrial and commercial and retail mixed-use development, okay? And increasing employment opportunities, which is going to hopefully, broaden out our tax base within the municipalities of those two districts that were specifically identified in this policy. Ellen, do you have anything else to add to that?
I think these are really good changes for the Enfield tax increment financing districts as they're designated. And I think it's important for taxpayers to understand the way that TIF is structured. It's not a grant, it's not an incentive, it's a mechanism, it's just another tool in the toolbox, but it's linked specifically to how these investors are going to improve the properties. If that investment doesn't exist and it doesn't hit the grand list with an appreciable change, it doesn't happen. So there's a really great incentive for people to invest in these areas because of this, in addition to some of the other, amenities that we offer. So I think that this is going to really spur some discussions in especially Thompsonville, and there's a couple of new developers that we're working with right now. I think they're going to be very interested in this.
Great, thank you. Roll call, please.
Counselor Hopkins,
4.
Counselor Ludwig,
4.
Counselor Mangini.
4.
Counselor Pisner.
4.
Counselor Ungary.
4.
Deputy Mayor Sakala.
4.
Mayor Crisati.
4.
Counselor Despard.
4.
Counselor Finger.
4.
9 in favor, none against, and no abstentions.
Okay, H, discussion resolution. The resolution to authorize the reduction of property maintenance fines for 57 Marion Place. Whereas the property owner of 57 Marion Place was cited for property maintenance violations between April 13, 2021 to June 30th, 2021, and from August 4th, 2020 to August 19th, 2020. Whereas the violation 1 was for collapsing, substantial damaged or dilapidated exterior features, which may include but not necessarily limited to stairs, ramps, porches, handrails, railings, fences, hatchways, chimneys, metal smokestacks, attic vents, or floors. And violation 2 was for persistent garbage, refuse, or trash on the property. Whereas the property owner did not contest liability for the violations before a duly appointed hearing officer, and whereas pursuant to Section 14-183 of the Enfield Town Code, property maintenance liens securing the fines were recorded in the town's land records. And whereas Quicken Loans LLC, now known as Rocket Mortgage LLC, commenced a mortgage foreclosure proceeding on or about June 17, 2021. And whereas the Superior Court has set date March 26, 2022 as the foreclosure sale date. And whereas the property was vacated in April 2021, and the mortgage holder was able to validate vacancy and enter and secure the property on April 12, 2021, and whereas the violations were remediated and the property has been blight-free since October 29, 2021, and whereas Rocket Mortgage has requested that the fines be reduced to $13,200 based on the time that it was able to enter the property through October 29, 2021, and whereas the Blight Review Committee has reviewed the request and recommends the fines and liens be reduced by $35,550 to $13,200. Now therefore be resolved that the Enfield Town Council does authorize the reduction of the property maintenance liens on 57 Marion Place and authorizes that the amount set forth in Attachment A be accepted in lieu of the full payment of those liens, prepared January 7, 2022, prepared by Ellen Zapu Sasu, Acting Town Manager.
So moved.
Councilor Mangini.
Second.
Councilor Ungary. Any discussions? Councilor Hopkins?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just very briefly, this was one application that was considered by myself and Councilor Ungary on the Blight Review Committee. This is a property that was that is lender owned, and it was they took possession of it in April of 2021. There's a large amount of money owed in terms of fines, $35,550. They're requesting that it be reduced just for the portion that they had ownership of. I think that's very fair. I think our blight process needs to have teeth, and so having them pay something is reasonable given that they had ownership of that. I'm very glad it's been remediated, and I think we should honor that application and request here because it is fair.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Hopkins.
4.
Counselor Ludwig.
4.
Counselor Mangini.
4.
Counselor Pisner. 4. Counselor Ungary.
4.
Deputy Mayor Sakala.
4.
Mayor Crissati.
4.
Counselor Despard.
4.
Counselor Finger.
4.
9 in favor, none against, and no abstentions.
Discussion resolution adopting the solid waste policy. Whereas the Department of Public Works drafted a revised solid waste and recycling policy that intended to control the town's cost for bulky waste collection, and whereas the Town Council's Public Works Subcommittee reviewed the revised policy and recommended additional revisions thereto. Therefore, it be resolved, the Enfield Town Council hereby approve and adopt the solid waste and recycling policy, date prepared January 11, 2022, prepared by the Department of Public Works. Councilor Mangini and Councilor Despard. Mr. Nunes? Welcome. Welcome back. And Mr. Boulay, welcome back also.
Yes.
Okay, questions? Any questions from anybody regarding this? Councilor Finger?
So, this is for the bulky pickup that we do on Wednesdays? Is that what I'm reading here?
This is, which one are you reading, Counselor?
The resolution, Department of Public Works has drafted revised solid waste and recycling policy that intended to control the town's cost of bulky waste. And town's council public works subcommittee review. So I'm just want to make sure that you understand it's not just for just the bulk. I mean, I'm talking about Wednesday.
Doug, put your mic on. Put your mic on.
Yeah. No.
It is for us, but not for people.
Yeah, well, actually, yeah, my apologies.
We heard you, Doug.
So I thank you. So can you just explain, it's not the bulking on Wednesday, it's the trash and recycling, MSW. and
It's the
recycling.
policy that we're going to follow when it comes to how we pick up things, where things are placed, and all that outside of the ordinance, because the policy establishes, like the Director of Public Works to set the prices. If we did that through ordinance, it would have to go through you folks, and we'd have to have another public hearing. Then having an ordinance change would be, it's not as easy to do as a policy change that we could go to subcommittee meeting, meet one time, say no, like the $85 has to go to 90. That's what that policy is for, establishing those, that's what that's for.
Right, I just want to make sure that people understood that, that's
Yep.
all. Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Okay, roll call.
Counselor Hopkins.
4.
Counselor Ludwig.
4.
Counselor Mangini.
4.
Counselor Pisner.
4.
Counselor Ungary.
4.
Deputy Mayor Sakala.
4.
Mayor Crissati.
4.
Counselor Despard.
4.
Counselor Finger.
4.
It's 9 in favor, none against, and no abstentions.
Mr. Mayor, can I say one
Yes.
thing? I just, again, as Director of Public Works here for 3 years now, I just want to say thank you to the current council that has worked on this, as well as the previous council. Again, there's been countless, like it's been mentioned before, there's been countless hours, countless meetings, and a lot of sacrifices on everyone's behalf in the town. I also want to thank the current manager and staff, and also the previous manager, again, for just kind of bringing this forward. There's just been so much, and I really think that when you see this over the next couple of years, how this is going to translate, I think what you're doing now is really is ahead of the game. It's ahead of the curve, and really just trying to control those things. And again, I appreciate it, all the work that, again, you folks have done on your personal time. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Don. Thank you, Ken. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you for everything that you do.
Okay, thanks.
All right. There's no miscellaneous, and there's any public communications? None? Councilor communications, anybody like to address the council for a final time tonight? I think everybody's ready to entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Councilor Mangini, Councilor Despard, all in favor? Okay. 8 in favor, Thank you, and good night, everyone. We'll see you the next meeting. 9 in favor, 9.
One person really wants to stay. You can pick who does.
Nine in favor. Good night, everyone.